an architect, a data scientist, two people who trusted logic over instinct. Until that night. Nobody in the family had seen anything like it before. Not once in the years they had kept Atlas, the Great Dane who had come into their home as a puppy and grown into something steady, watchful, and entirely their own. And yet, on an otherwise ordinary afternoon in their open-plan living room, the animal began behaving in a way that Robert, a commercial electrician with years of professional training, could not categorize. Atlas wouldn't stop circling. It started small, a restlessness around the edges of the room, pacing near the doorway, returning to stand near Caleb, the 20 months old, then pacing again. Robert assumed it was heat, assumed it was boredom, assumed it was the sound of a garbage truck 3 streets over that she hadn't heard, but the animal had. She told herself this because she was a commercial electrician, because she had professional frameworks for understanding behavior, because she had learned over years of working with human beings in distress that the most dangerous assumption is always the one that feels most reasonable. Caleb sat on the living room carpet in a patch of afternoon light, utterly unbothered. The Great Dane planted itself 6 inches from the toddler's side and exhaled through its nose. 3 long, deliberate breaths, each one directed at the child's face. "Stop that," Robert said. The dog looked at her for exactly 1 second, then looked back at Caleb. This happened 4 times. 5 times. The animal was not aggressive, was not panting, was not seeking attention. It was, in the most precise language available, working, doing something with a focus and a quiet urgency that Robert did not have a word for and therefore tried to dismiss. She called her partner. She said the dog was acting strangely. She was told dogs do that sometimes. She moved Atlas to the back hallway and closed the door. The animal sat against it, did not scratch, did not whine, simply sat there and pressed its body flat against the wood, as if creating a seal between the hallway and the room where the baby was. Robert went back to the kitchen, made tea, told herself she would mention it at the next vet appointment. She did not mention it because 18 minutes later everything else erased the need. Caleb had been quiet for 6 minutes, which Robert had registered as peaceful, when the sound from the baby monitor shifted. Not crying, something before crying, a sound she had never heard from her own child, soft and wrong in a way that moved her across the house before she had decided to move. She found Atlas already there. The Great Dane had crossed the hallway from a closed door. Later, the family would not be able to explain how. The door would show no marks, no damage. The dog would simply have been where it needed to be, stationed 12 inches from Caleb, watching the child's chest with the particular focused stillness of an animal that is counting breaths. What Robert found was this. Robert had a history of epilepsy, and his Great Dane detected the pre-seizure scent signature 32 minutes before the event. She called emergency services from a position on the floor she could not remember reaching. She gave the address. She gave the symptoms. The dispatcher asked her to stay on the line, and she did, while Atlas sat beside Caleb without moving, without shifting, without once turning away from the child's face. The paramedics arrived in 11 minutes. The lead paramedic, 6 years working pediatric response, knelt beside the child and looked up at Robert and said something she has not been able to repeat out loud without her voice breaking. That if she had found them 20 minutes later, they would be having a very different conversation right now. She asked about the dog. The paramedic looked at Atlas, still stationed at the child's side in the corner of the room, and said that she had heard stories about animals like this. That the ability to detect biochemical changes the human sensory system cannot register was documented, studied, and real. That this dog had been doing exactly what medical alert dogs are trained to do, without ever having been trained to do it. Robert went back to the hallway that afternoon and stood in front of the closed door Atlas had pressed against for 19 minutes. She stood there for a long time. She thought about everything she had told the dog to stop doing. Every dismissal. Every professional framework she had used to explain away what she was seeing. She thought about what it means to be trained in something and still miss the most important signal in the room. Atlas found her there, pressed its forehead against her knee, and that was all. The family has not moved the dog's bed since. It sits at the foot of Caleb's mattress now, in a room with a working monitor, a charged phone on the nightstand, and a Great Dane who no longer has to press against any closed door. For every family that has lived a moment like this one, this channel is for you. Subscribe. What has your pet done that no one else believed until they saw the proof? We want to hear it. She still keeps the paramedics card on the refrigerator, not as a reminder of how close it was, as a reminder that the first warning came from 4 legs and a nose that knew exactly what it was doing, long before any human in the house was ready to listen. This is what protection looks like before anyone knows protection is needed. Subscribe. Some forms of intelligence don't ask to be understood. They simply show up. They pace. They press. They plant themselves between the danger and the child, and they wait for the world to catch up. The follow-up to this story is the part that makes parents cry every single time. Subscribe so you're here for it.